What's going on, guys? It's Matt, back again with another video. Sorry it's been a while since I posted. I just have a lot of stuff going on. I'm a full-time student and I have a part-time job and other video stuff going on, but I really like making these videos when I can, so now I can. Today I'm talking about the 23mm f2 lens, which I have on my Fujifilm X-T3 in silver, because I think that is the sexiest combination for it. And I am a person who at least appreciates a good-looking camera. I think it's more important, obviously, the end result, as I feel like most people should. They shouldn't like the look of their camera more than the end result, but it definitely doesn't hurt to have a pretty camera because it inspires you to want to go out and use it. I love this combination. It's just a nice size, and with the thumb grip, it really helps the ergonomics. That has nothing to do with the lens, but yeah, it's the perfect size lens for pretty much any Fuji camera body. I mean, it's the perfect balance between small without being like pancake-like, and it has the best quality trade-off for size. So yeah, it's an f2 lens. You're not getting the 1.4 depth of field or low light performance, but this is, I mean, f2 is plenty in my opinion, and if you get up close, you get some nice background blur. Obviously at f2, it's the least sharp it's gonna be, but sometimes I find myself like bumping up the texture and sharpness, you know, maybe like to 15 or whatever, and that's usually good enough. But I don't recommend and I don't like using this lens at minimum focus distance at f2 because it has this like hazy ghosting kind of look. It's not my favorite. It is a commonly known thing with this lens is that wide open at minimum focus distance, it's not the sharpest, but either you just back up a little bit or you stop your lens down a little bit, you still get nice background blur because background blur has as much to do with your minimum focus distance as it does with your aperture, actually probably more so. So, you know, just stop it down to 2.8 f4 and you'll get rid of like 99% of that look, if not all of it. A lot of the time I find myself just using this for landscapes and just a walk around lens. I think it's most comfortable with that. Most photographers agree that either a 35 equivalent or a 50 equivalent focal length, which would be a 23 for a 35 equivalent full frame, or the 35 for a 50 equivalent full frame. It's a little confusing because we're on Fuji crop sensor we're talking about here. Those are generally the most common standard focal length. That's what cameras were really sold with whenever they first came out, and Ansel Adams and pretty much every well-known photographer started off with either a 35 or 50 equivalent field of view, and it's agreed upon that it's the closest to how a person actually sees. So as you're walking along, I like the benefit of having your Fuji camera is that you can have the knobs. You know, you can look down in your camera and know your settings before you turn it on. But because you know, I walk around with this off most of the time, and I turn it on, take an image, and turn it off again. It's good to have a focal length, which what you're looking at is what you're going to see with your camera, because then you can be sure to only pull it out then. Because I don't know, I'm just weird like that. I like, you know, the Fujifilm X-T3 doesn't have the absolute best battery life. It's not that bad, but I don't like walking around with it turned on all the time. So for me, I like having a focal length when I'm doing walk around photography where what you see is what you get, basically. Like what you're looking at in real life, you pull up your camera, it looks exactly the same. Especially with this one. I think this focal length, meaning the 23, I think whenever I walk around with the 35 1.4, it's usually tighter than I actually see. So in my opinion, what a person sees is closer to the 35 equivalent field of view. I know these numbers are confusing, but I like this lens, is what I'm saying. And the longer I use it, the more fond of this field of view I become. And I'm glad that I don't have the 23 1.4, because if I would have bought that at the time I bought this, the new version wouldn't come out, and I don't have enough money or want to buy the absolute newest lens anyway. But I don't know. I like that this is small. That also inspires me to take it out. That's like the two main things with Fujifilm. This is the most Fujifilm lens. Is it's good looking and it's small, and those two things together make you want to go out and use it more, and then you fall in love with it more. But really, you're falling in love with the art of photography. Don't confuse that for brand loyalty. When I first got this lens and opened it and looked through the elements, I noticed on the back element, it was like there was two specks of dust in it right as soon as I got it. And I wasn't a very experienced photographer back then. I feel like if I got that today, I would immediately send it back. But to this day, I've never seen anything, any dots or dust in my photos, no matter how stopped down I am. So I don't know, it's just kind of weird, and seems like a quality control issue maybe. I don't know why I didn't send that back, but it still doesn't bother me to this day, and I haven't seen it once yet, but that's something that's weird. That's probably just my copy. It's sent with this plastic lens hood, which is actually, I love it because you can just choose to always have it on your camera. So without the lens hood, it's like this, and you can put the lens cap directly on, which I actually don't like how this looks as much. I like it better with the lens hood at the end. And then obviously you're blocking out flares and stuff, but it's such a good design to just be able to pop that on there, and then you never have to worry about like every time putting on a lens hood. I actually bought this lens hood for the camera, which screws on like that. And I don't know, I didn't like it as much. It has an even more retro look. I mean, this looks like a straight up film camera, but I don't know. And plus, like, you can put a filter on the end of this, but it's, first of all, it's really far away from the actual front element of your lens. And I noticed that this in the back here, for this third-party lens hood, even when you have that on, there's these openings in the back where dust can get in. And whenever you put a filter on the end, light comes in through these slits and it reflects off the filter and completely messes up your image. So I think it's much more worth it just to use the plastic one that comes with it, and you never really have to think about or worry about it. Very nice aperture ring on this. It goes from f2 to f16. I think I usually never go above f11 because I don't want diffraction making my image any softer, and it's super easy just to crank up your shutter speed to adjust for that exposure. I don't know, I guess I haven't been to a grand enough landscape where I felt like I needed f16 to get everything in focus. Like f11 is basically everything in focus too, without the diffraction. But I don't know, if you disagree or know better about that, or you're a landscape photographer, let me know. But yeah, generally don't go above f16. I usually try to at least do 2.8. The thing with this lens, and this field of view anyway, is even a 23 1.4 lens, you're not going to get that crazy bokeh background blur. If you want that, you might as well go with a telephoto lens. You might as well get the Fuji 90 or the 50mm f2 even will give you a lot more compression, which is going to add to that background blur. Having a 1.4 aperture with this, I don't know, it's not going to be as crazy on a 23mm focal length. And in my opinion, as I do more photography, I feel like I don't want to constantly be relying on that crutch of like a shallow depth of field. Like, you can do so much more creative things at f4 or f2.8 than just like getting one little subject in focus and make everything else blurry. That's nice every once in a while, but I think having a lens like this is really important because it makes you think more about your composition. You want, just the nature of this field of view is you're getting a lot in the frame. So you might as well make it in focus. Like, why make your frame so blurry for most of it and have this one little thing in focus? I don't know. I think it just works, and it's a nice trade-off for the size, for the aperture you're getting, so the low light gathering, and also just the sharpness. I mean, if you stop this down to f8, just like any lens, it's super tack sharp, but even at 2.8 and at f2, it's totally usable. Don't let people, even like me, saying it's not as sharp at f2 deter you from this lens. It's definitely sharp enough. Like, this is it's a Fujifilm lens. The only Fujifilm lens I've owned that I was I mean, it wasn't even disappointed. It just wasn't as good as the other ones, was the 18mm f2. But this is like 1.5 of those. Like, trust me, it's sharp enough. Also, I use this for video autofocus a lot. And the kind of videos I do are just like this, like a talking head kind of video. I'm using the 35 1.4, which is a notoriously bad focusing Fuji lens. And I mean, it's plenty good enough to do a talking head. So this with the new linear motor is even better. This is probably my best autofocusing lens, probably right neck and neck with my 18-55 Fuji, I mean video autofocusing lens. But I always use the 18-55 whenever I use my gimbal because it has stabilization, and I have an X-T3 which doesn't have IBIS. And this doesn't have any stabilization in it at all. So, but yeah, whenever I'm on a gimbal, I'm using the 18-55, but whenever I have my camera on a tripod, I'm definitely usually always using this or like my 35 and Filtrox 56. But it's great for video as well, especially like I started off my other YouTube channel, the ASM Artist. I filmed probably like 50 videos in a row just using this lens because it was just so easy. And the nature of this, like this is a great content creator's lens because of the field of view. It's not too wide and distorty, which is, makes you look weird and your nose look long and all this stuff. It's just wide enough to, get a nice background, but you can basically have your camera within arm's reach. So you can have an on-camera monitor or whatever. So if you have an X-T4 with a flip-around screen, it doesn't benefit you to have a flip-around screen and then try to film yourself with a telephoto lens because it's so far away, you might as well have a monitor anyway. But this is a great lens for a simple content creator setup where you have your lens at arm's length. Basically, you can reach out and touch your camera. You have your monitor on camera and it's big enough that you can see everything in focus, and it's just nice to have a camera that you can set up and not really have to worry about it's close. Because even with this 35 1.4, or especially if I'm doing like the 56 or 85, it's a process. Every time I want to film myself, I need to set up the camera and I need to sit down and make sure I'm in frame, and I adjust and then rinse and repeat until finally after like 5 tries, you have a nice frame. It's so much easier with the 23 f2. I love using this for video, and I need to use it more. I used to use it all the time, but then I got a couple new lenses, and then this 35 1.4 is pretty magic. I'm going to review that soon, but this is just as good. It's just a different field of view. So yeah, that was a pretty quick review. Definitely a lot quicker than my last lens review, but I wanted to be in depth for that one because it was sent to me. I bought this one with my own money. I wish Fujifilm would send me stuff, but I'm not there yet. But yeah, great lens. Super versatile for walking around, for a first prime lens for a video content creator on YouTube. I can't recommend this enough. Like if you want to move past your 18-55, like say if you get a Fujifilm X-T3 with 18-55, and that's your kit, that's your first camera and lens, I think this should be your second lens. It's the most versatile prime I have. And it's yeah, like I said, it's perfect for video. And my audience on my other channel noticed immediately when I got this lens. They noticed how much sharper the image looked compared to the 18-55 just because it's a prime. But this is a great second lens for somebody, or if you are ballsy enough to buy a camera and have your first lens be a prime, this is a great first lens. But I think generally people are going to get a zoom as their first lens. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed my picture examples. I just kind of randomly threw them in throughout, other than the intro. But yeah, that's all I got to say about the 23mm f2 lens by Fujifilm. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Leave a comment down below. And I'll hopefully be back within a month or so with another video talking about something to do with Fujifilm, probably. But I did just buy my first non-Fujifilm camera. I got a Sigma DP2. For like $180. But look forward to that too. Foveon sensor goodness. All right, see you guys.